Hey, good morning to everybody. Happy Friday. It's Daryl here. It's bright and freaking early, man. You know it. It's 3:30 a.m. here in Connecticut on the East Coast. Okay, where to start with this video? Let me just fill you in on the caffeine update. I'm still caffeine free. The weird thing, the headaches get so bad just in the morning. Yesterday, the headaches started to fade around the afternoon. I said in yesterday's video that I've quit caffeine since Tuesday at noon, and I'm still caffeine free. This morning, the headache came back. Yesterday, the headache was in the front of my head. Now I got a pounding headache on the side of my head over here. You know what I keeps coming to what keeps popping in my head is Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's not a tumor. Anyway, okay. I'm not good at impressions. Okay, this morning I couldn't really hone in on a story in the politics or airplane stories, wild airplane stories or aliens, or I couldn't hone in on anything. And when that happens, I start moving about here. I spend about an hour going through the news feeds. Then I give up and I let my mind rest, and I start going through I think it's called evolutions, my morning evolutions here with the shower and shaving and all that. And when I do that and I don't have a particular story in my head, I kind of start reflecting on myself and my life. And I tend to do a video that talks about that, and that's what I'm going to talk about today. I don't know if I'm going to even have the guts to download this video. The reason I'm talking about this is because looking back, I engaged in very dangerous behavior. And when it was happening, I couldn't see my life being any other way. I was ashamed of it. I thought I was just, I thought it was who I was. And I'm talking about adult magazines, adult products, and especially adult bookstores. And there's a reason this popped in my head this morning. Like I said, I used to engage in what they would call risky behavior on a daily basis. It was this combination of, especially, I don't know if 30 seconds have gone by on the video yet. It was crack cocaine. If you're a guy and you've used crack cocaine before, I'm willing to bet you know what I'm talking about. There's just this it fires up the same part of the brain that stimulates sexual arousal, and a lot of times adult magazines, adult films, adult bookstores become a cross addiction. And it did with me. And I've been doing some reflecting on this, and I have to wonder if it's some of the way I grew up and what happened to me when I was abused from the age of about 10 to 15 years old by a cop. I was sexually abused, and I have to wonder if part of it's that. But I'm gonna fess up. I'm gonna tell you guys some stuff, and I didn't even remember this. You have to remember that I used from the time I was in my teens till I was 40 years old. We're talking over 2.5 decades. And a lot of times this stuff, I started thinking, I did a video a few days back. I've talked recently about the women I've been in intimate relationships with, and I don't have a number. And in the last couple of days, it's kind of bothered me, and I've started thinking about it and trying to remember all. It's not something I'm proud of, and you'll see why in a second. And then a particular set of circumstances, I remembered a particular set of circumstances where I engaged in intimate behavior, risky behavior in adult bookstores. And I'm not particular, the reason I'm talking about this is because when I first got clean and sober, the first year or two, this was one of my biggest triggers. I could not even see, if I even saw a woman walking down the street in a short dress, my mind would automatically go to my dealer's phone number. Can I remember my dealer's phone number? And the nearest adult bookstore. It's bizarre, but that was my addiction. And I had to fight that. I had to just seeing something that would just arouse me a little bit, just something innocent would trigger me. The reason I'm talking about this, though, is it's been 16 and a half years since October 23rd, 2006, and now it's not an issue. It's faded. I have normal life. I have a normal relations. I don't have this urge anymore to go to bookstores to look through these pornographic stuff. I did a video a little while back. I actually got suspended for a week because I put a link to an adult website on my. I didn't know you couldn't do that. And I was talking about the sets and the different, because it was a worldwide site, and I was interested in the German. There was German people. There was a lot of people from Colombia, and it was interesting to me, the sociology of it. Seriously. Anyway, getting back to the bookstores. And I've been thinking more about that. And I realized that I had these behaviors. Luckily, I got tested. As soon as I got into recovery, I told you guys I went to the methadone clinic, and I would have physicals every year, and they'd ask what you wanted to be tested for. Did you want to be tested for HIV, hepatitis, everything? And the first year I was scared because I knew I had a lot of risky behavior, and I said no. And then the following years, the second, third year that I was there, maybe even I think it was 4 years at least, I actually had the tests. And I think, knock on wood, I got lucky. I was clean. I had no payback, no diseases that I had caught. Okay, let me tell you about this. I've talked before about the first time I saw pornography when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I remember I found a magazine in the building where my father worked. Some of the workmen had left it there, and it had such an impact on me. My blood pressure, it was just this bam. It was almost like a buzz. My cheeks flushed. I got like excited. My blood pressure went up, and I wonder if it was that. And then I was delivering for a news truck, magazines, adult magazines. I actually, after I got laid off from architecture in about 1988, there was a building slowdown, another building crisis back around 89. And I started driving a truck. And I drove for a magazine company, and I was the one delivering adult magazines to adult bookstores. And I would go through the arcades, and I would see men cruising in these back arcades with glory holes. If you don't know what a glory hole is, Google it. And I would see this, and it became, when I would use it, it was something I would gravitate to. And I have to wonder why I did that. Part of me, looking back, I remembered having relations there would be guys that would bring in their wives or girlfriends into these bookstores to buy this or that, couples, and they would go into the arcade, and occasionally there would be guys that would find arousal in watching their wife or girlfriend with somebody else. And I engaged in this. I was willing to give my services. This is back, like I said, 20 years ago when I was using. And these were people I didn't know. I walked in, it was in a dark back room, and it was weird, And then I'll be totally honest with you guys. I didn't know if I was going to talk about this. I would go back there, and when there wasn't couples, when it was just guys back there, I wouldn't engage in any behavior. But I think part of me, because I was abused, I have to wonder if because I was abused, part of me almost got power because there was guys that would follow me around, to booths and try to flirt, try to hit on me, try to get me hit on me, and part of me would get upset, annoyed. But then there was part of me that kept going back to these stores, and I have to wonder if there was part of me that was doing this on purpose, some kind of psychological reason to get power back. This person wants me, but now I can say no. Now I could walk away from this. When I was abused, you get what I'm saying here? When I was abused from the age of 10 to 15, I couldn't. I was forced to do this. You see what I'm saying? I have to wonder if that's part of the reason, because if I'm going to be honest with myself, there was, if it annoyed me so much, why did I keep going back there? Why was I cross-addicted to this? I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. There was times I went there, and I had been using a lot of different substances, and there was just guys back there. There was no couples or anything. And there's glory holes. If you look up what glory holes are. And I would watch heterosexual movies, and in my mind, there was times, looking back, that I would engage in situations, just telling myself that the other person, it's a couple, it's a girl, it's got to be a woman on the other side of this board, when it probably wasn't. This is the first time I've admitted this. This is the reason I'm making this video. It's like I said, the first few years of my recovery, I didn't know. Part of me actually if I was bisexual. I really wasn't sure if I was bisexual. And it was still a trigger for me. But after about 2 or 3 years, I didn't, I managed to stay away from all adult books, adult films, adult books. I have not stepped foot in an adult bookstore. I have not set foot in an adult bookstore since I've been clean and sober. Not once, never even thought about doing it. I actually wonder if that behavior, it must still be going on. Part of me would almost like to go back there and document it for this video so you guys could actually see what's going on, not showing any faces. But the reason I'm making this video is because after a few years and the trigger subsided, I found out who I really am. I'm just a basic, it would be okay if I was bisexual, but I'm not. I am just a normal heterosexual guy. That's what I'm attracted to. And I was able to move on. I was always scared that I would never be able to have a normal relationship, normal sex, like in the morning or afternoon, with no alcohol, no drugs, no nothing. To me, it was bizarre. It's like, how could people do this? It must be so boring and weird. That's what I used to think, and it's quite the opposite. This is the best. I don't want to get too descriptive here, but these 2 relationships that I've had, these 2 long-term relationships, one with Audrey and one with another girl before that, Paula, were over a year or 2 years, Paula and Audrey, until she passed away. And they were the best relationships I ever had. It was true intimacy. It was the best intimacy I've ever had in my life. I found that I was much more expressive, and it was better. It was the best sex I've ever had in my life, to be honest with you guys. That's why I'm talking about it, because I know there's guys watching this, and I know that they know what I'm talking about. And until you get into recovery, you're never really sure. I think you're never really sure of who you forget who you really are. You're not sure who you really are. And I think sometimes it worries you that some of this stuff could lead to people doing crazy things. I thought about doing self-destructive things. I didn't think I'd ever be normal again. And that's why I'm making this. When I say normal, I just say the way I was born. I don't mean, normal could be homosexual, normal could be heterosexual, but at least I am who I'm supposed to be right now. That's what I'm trying to say. Recovery is possible, without a doubt. The first year or 2 is hard, but it's definitely possible, and it's definitely worthwhile. And we'll see if I'm going to download this video, because I'm not sure. You guys have a good Friday.